everyone! It's Wednesday, which means it is time for some mini mayhem. I am Vee Mus'e, and welcome! And it is looking like hold on, wait a minute, because one of them went rogue on me. Okay, so the YouTube channel didn't mute. So it looks like this go around, we have it where it is streaming both to YouTube as well as Twitch. So yay, success! The joys of streaming and finding out all the foibles. If you are new here, thank you so much. Lovely to see you. I have a wonderful chat that is up and running so I can see comments from both channels at the same time. I'll do my best to read the questions out that are relevant for those of you on the opposites, so you know what I'm responding to. But for me, this is quite nice. So I'm seeing some lovely people. I'm seeing Goblin Katie. I'm seeing Viper Taha, Miksanovitsky. Hello, Shannon. Hello, Night Terrain. Hi, Consummate Nerd and Kevin Hammond. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. I'm excited because I am going to be getting into finishing up the Magic the Gathering Unpainted Miniatures Isperia Law Incarnate, which is part of our Wave 13 line. She has been quite the lovely miniature painting project. If you've missed the previous two streams, then do be sure, hold on. That's going to get a little loud. If the music gets overpowering, let me know. But basically, it's one of those things where the past two streams have been focused on getting her painted up. I did take time in between part 2 and today because there were just some steps where it didn't make sense for me to take up a whole full stream when it's similar techniques that I was already showing you. So what we're going to do in like the first 15 minutes or so is I'm going to give you a rundown as to what I did on the in-between. But before we get there, I'm going to do the streamer thing and say, hey, if you're new, don't forget to make sure that you follow or subscribe. I would very much appreciate it, as would WizKids. To do that, all you have to do is click the subscribe button or click the heart. Totally up to you, depending on which platform you're watching from. And if you want to make sure you get those notifications on YouTube, ring that bell and you'll get a lovely notification when we go live. Theoretically. Keep in mind, every so often, YouTube likes to be a little, interesting, let's say, and notifications won't be going out. It seems we're getting into another cycle of that. If I'm speaking a mile a minute, tell me, because I had way too much caffeine. I steeped my tea for 5 minutes. Oops. But hey, Realm Smith, and hello, Dan Dillon. Hello, hello. So that being said, I'm also going to be doing an unboxing of the D&D Icons of the Realms Boneyard Blue Dracolich. I showed you the green one last week. Well, this week during some dry time that I need, I thought it'd be great to people have seen this already, but unbox this fellow, because he's a booty boy. But anyways, that's going to be later on in the stream. So if you want to see that, then you just have to stay. That's it. You just have to stay. You're not allowed to leave. You have to stay. I'm not going to tell you what. I'm not going to tell you how, but that is the plan, my dears. So anyhow, let's talk nitty gritty in terms of Isperia. Let me first switch over to, we have some fun. Gonna go for a ride. Yay! All right, so here we go. Oh, you're getting to see my little, okay, so here she is now. And yes, there has been quite a change in her. Last you saw with her wings, I left you with a wing that looked like this. So obviously I did some work over the week and I added on some extra details here. So I'm going to show you how I went from this over to this, as well as what else I have done here on her body. But I wanted you to see the miniature first before I got into it. And again, in the details below, I do have her SKU as well as the suggested MSRP of $14.99. This is available now at your FLGS, so do make sure that you check with them and ask them if this is available. And hello, the big bearded nerd. I think I've caught everyone so far in the chat. If I've missed you or if you're lurking is perfectly acceptable. I do not mind. If you are biding your time and enjoying my quirkiness, fantastique. But I also got her armor painted on. Now the armor, I went in, and again, these are all Vallejo paints at this time. I went in with green ochre, okay? Which, misleading in name, it has a very beautiful golden tone to it. So what I do with my metals is I start with a base coat that is solid. It is not a metallic. And I'm going to show you some other techniques that I do to really bring out the details in the armor itself and also to capture the metallic quality. I am not doing the non-metallic metallic, the NMM technique. I will be using metallic paint, but there's something I like to do to the miniatures first before applying metallics on top. I've also been playing around a little bit here because I'm going to make these look like opals. So I'll show you what I've been doing with this and what I'm going to do to add a little bit more to it. Hello, Pullman Rex. In the midday lurker that lurks midday. I like that. That was good. Along with that, I also put the color on here, and this one was the turquoise. from the Game Color line, the Halcyon something turquoise. And then just on top of that, I put the blue wash. The hair, I did give a little extra attention. I actually mixed my own wash using Vallejo washes. It was 4 parts red to 1 part blue wash from Vallejo. Mixed those together, put those on top. Once it dried, I went back in with Ghost Gray, not Stonewall Gray, but Ghost Gray, and did a little bit more work on that. And that seems to have done the trick for this. All right, so that is how I got the hair to where it is. The feathers, I did a gray wash, again, Vallejo paints. And in this case, I went back in with Ghost Gray again, and I just re-enhanced the higher details, which you can see here. And with the body, I did give her a wash, but in this case, it was a mix of gray wash as well as the blue wash. It was, I'm trying to remember, oh, it was 8 parts gray to 1 part blue is really all it needed. Maybe I could have gotten away with 2 parts blue to the 8 parts wash, but quite frankly, I'm happy with how it brought out the details in her face a little bit more, but it didn't take over the light blue. I wanted to keep that light blue because, children, we're going to take a look at images now, because if you look, this is the reference photo I have been working with for the past 3 weeks now. I have been trying to capture the basic aesthetic of the official artwork from the Magic the Gathering card. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have some fun here and take a look at some pictures. So I need to hide you for a second here, darling. So it's going to go black. Well, not black. It's going to go that gorgeous, fun red bubbly in the back. But so this is what she looked like in the first stream. All right, where I basically just got the skin tone and the hair going on. And then let's switch over to... That was her at the end of basically last week. So you can see, well, hello, the Opera Geek. I see you have joined us. Thank you so much, my dear. And then we flip over to, this is what I really want to talk about. It was her eyes. So remember how I said last week, I was not happy with how her eyes were looking. They just looked too flat. And I knew a wash was not going to bring that out as much as I wanted. And this is always the nature of miniature painting. It's something you're going to run into. You may realize midway through, there is something you want to improve upon, which is perfectly all right, okay? So what I did in this case is I went back to her eyes, and I know it looks black, but it's not black. It's actually the darkest gray I had possible, and I am blanking on the name. My apologies. I will look it up again, but it was like a charcoal gray, generic charcoal gray. So basically what I did was I went in with this dark charcoal gray, and I put it onto not just the eyes themselves, but also basically along the edges of the eyelids. Then going back in with Ghost Gray, I then filled in the eyes themselves, and it leaves you with this almost outlined eyeliner look. Once that happened, I was far more happy with how her eyes looked. It has the intensity like in the artwork. They show off a lot better. And I did go back and taking the purple, basic purple from the model line from Vallejo, I did redo her eyebrows just a little bit more to bring them back out again too. With the lips, I took a little bit of the red wash that I had left over and I just tinted her lips just slightly more. And that's pretty much how I finished up her face. So I wanted to make sure I did address that because there was some work done on the face behind the scenes. Let me see what else we have going on here. So that was the eyes. And here we have, so this is where the armor comes into play. Like I said, I did that green ochre. And I forgot, hold on. One moment, please. One moment, please. I'm playing, there we go. Okay, that's just me being fussy. So I did go in with that green ochre and I painted all of the armor. Once all of the armor was painted on and this is important, and the paint was dry. You do want to make sure your paint is pretty much dry before you put a wash on because you can muddy the wash otherwise. Then I went in with the sepia wash, okay? Not the umber wash from Vallejo, but the sepia wash because it has this beautiful golden tone to it. I put that in and my focus was to make sure it was getting into all those little nooks and crannies that you can see in the photo here because that is enhancing those details and bringing them out, which I want to have happen because I do not intend to go back with another wash. Everything I'm going to be doing at this point with her on the armor is going to be dry brushing techniques. All right, so that is the plan for her. And then I went in and let's put you around. We're going to bring you out, darling. And then pretty much the very last thing I worked on here are those turquoise details put in. So I painted those up, made sure I put the wash in again because the only thing I'm going to be doing left with that is a little bit more dry brushing. But I wanted to make sure that I focused on getting those details, those lines, if you will, Though, Kelly, don't eat the mini. For those of you who don't know, Kelly the Opera Geek likes to eat my train. I'm kidding. But it's one of those things I wanted to make sure that those details were brought out too before going into dry brushing. So it's going to be a little bit of kind of bouncing around here and there. I do want to start first with showing you how I did the wings. All right. So that all being said and shared, let's take it back to what picture I want this. So basically, end goal is to get it looking similar to that. Okay, so here she is now on my screen. Pardon the sniffle. We're getting there. We're getting there. Obviously, I know I am bringing down the golden tone of the armor. Why did I make this armor such a vivid gold? Because if you look, the undertone of that armor in the photo does have a golden tone to it, which I wanted to make sure I captured. But knowing what I do with armor, I knew that I wanted it to be a bit more vivid because I am going to not mute it, but give it more of a pastel or a lighter tone to it. But here she is at this point. The hair is done, the face is done. Obviously, I need to keep working on the jewelry. The feathers on the back are done. The one wing is done. This one needs to get finished up. And then it's armor and then the base, basically. Okay, so I think therefore I am, I hope. So here we go. So basically what's going to happen here is I'm going to go in and I'm going to do 2 rounds of dry brushing. And in between that, I am doing a round of wash. So with this, what I'm going to do is pull out, I used Ghost Gray on this one. And I think at the beginning, I originally thought I was going to use Bone White. I changed my mind because of that artwork I said to myself, is what I was about to say. I said to myself, it's a mixture of grays and golds. So let's do Ghost Gray for the dry brushing to hint to the grays that you see in the artwork. Thank you so much, Zardoz. Yes, I am truly thrilled with how the end result is. So like I said, it's a round of dry brushing, a wash, and then dry brushing, which I'll show you today. I just want to make sure. I really don't have to shake it up that much. I was just using it last night. Like those of you who are regulars know, I am a paper plate paint palette girl. It's just my comfort zone. If you have a wet palette, this is also quite doable. I have extra paper towels. Since I'm going to be doing dry brushing, I need one for blotting off excess paint.
I need to kind of roll up my sleeves.
Kind of, sort of, maybe. And I just saw the comment, Goblin Katie, about the pink nose. I like the pink nose too, and that was in the official artwork, so I wanted to make sure I captured that as well. So yay, I was happy about that. And then when the wash went onto her skin, everything pulled together just as I had hoped. So I'm quite pleased with how her face came out. So basically all I need to do is go into my Ghost Gray. I don't thin my paints when it comes time to dry brush. It's not my preference. Some people do like to do that. For me, I just don't find it as necessary. I'm pulling off as much of the wash as possible. Now let's talk about direction and pull of the brush because that is important. I always like to go in with larger wings or miniatures. I go in with this angled flat brush. I find that these work nicely for getting into the tighter spaces. Yeah, I'm very excited to show you the hopeful end result that I have here. And I have some specialty paints I'm going to be bringing out for that too. And definitely make note on that Dr. Venture. Oh, I like that. Dr. Venture is making note on the green ochre and sepia wash. It's a great combination for gold armor. It really is a beautiful one that I'm quite happy with. So when it comes time to doing the dry brushing thing, you want to be very aware of the texture that you have going on here with the wings, especially because you have these great little, I don't know what these are called technically. I'm not a bird person, but you do have these, I'm going to call them spines on the feathers that pop out. So what I found with this particular miniature, it helps to pull your brush opposite the way the wings are pointing down, but also from the body out are the 2 directions you'll see me working in. So basically, of course, I've been chatting. Let's see if this is even primed anymore. So basically, you're just going to go in and start drawing this up. You don't want to coat the feathers completely. You do want those golden tones to play out underneath. What I'm focusing on now is bringing out the details of these feathers. Okay, and my brush is barely loaded with paint. In fact, loaded isn't the right word. I have dipped, okay? I have dipped my paintbrush and then pulled off as much excess of the Ghost Gray as possible. And you can see, here's the one side in comparison to the other side. Just by doing this, you're already bringing out details. Some people would even just do this stage and leave it at that for detail work. Pardon me, I need to recross my legs. So let's continue with this. And it's basically just blotting off as much as possible. And as you can see, I'm working at this pulling away from the body and pulling upward motion. And because of the size of these wings, I'm preferring my larger brush. You could do this with a smaller flat brush. I find you don't get as a consistent coverage. You're more inclined to find linear streaks because sometimes the load might be different on the brush when you go back into dry brush. So to prevent that with larger minis, little tip for you, it helps to use larger brushes. And really my focus is I want to get the edge and the tips of the wings. Or not the wings, the feathers. We're talking about the feathers on the wings. And I especially want to make sure I am floating it across. I don't want to get it into these nooks and cranny grooves here. Those I want to keep dark toned. Granted, yes, the wash is going to sink in and help with that factor, but I still want to keep this ghost gray floating more on the top. So this is going to be the first round of dry brushing. And then, like I said, after the wash, we are going to do the same thing. And you'll see me right here. Almost done. I'm pretty happy with the coverage here. Yeah. So see, it's acting like highlights, which is what you want. Not a kenku. Why are we not talking about kenkus? We can certainly talk about kenkus if you so choose. So that is the first side. Now what I'm going to do is the edge of the wing, which don't forget to do that part because yes, while you can do the dry brushing, oftentimes, especially with larger minis, this area, let's get on the camera, this area can sometimes be neglected or forgotten about because you're thinking, oh, well, I've got the one side flip, get the other side. But these start to get enough space and profile to them that you do need to be sure that you go over that area. So now what I'm going to do for this spot, instead of pulling away from the body like you saw me before, I'm actually going to pull my brush toward. Okay, a little bit tricky to show, but before I flip over to the other side, I'm just taking this and pulling my brush towards, and this is where having the tip on that brush comes in handy because I can just switch it around so the tip of that brush is doing the work for me. Yeah, you can use Viper Taha has put in that you could use makeup brushes. You can use makeup brushes. You can also use manicure brushes. A brush is a brush is a brush is a brush. So it's a lot of times makeup brushes have softer bristles, so they float better. Speaking from experience, speaking to the makeup brushes that I use on my own face, there's a different quality to a makeup brush. It has a softer, gentler touch, for lack of a better word. So if you want something to really glide and to really float along your miniature, you can even use one of those fan makeup brushes, which let me go grab one. Let me show you what we're talking about. Hold on. This is the teacher and me. We're going to show and tell kids. All right, so these are especially good for, I mean, I use them as highlights on my own face, but these are ones that are often used, the fan brushes, for highlighting on miniatures, and they work out quite nicely. However, I use these. I am not sacrificing my makeup brushes for a mini, just not happening. But these are the brushes that I am talking about in terms of great for dry brushing and highlighting, okay? And they're very, very, very soft. You can even see they have more motion to them. So that's what we're talking about here with makeup brushes. Hello, Jorge. How are you? Thank you for joining us and good morning to you. Okay, so I have the top edge here. I have the front here. Now I'm just going to quickly take a look underneath. Oh yeah, you can get one of the bigger, there's even bigger ones like huge fan brushes you can use for scattering, as being mentioned by Viper Taha over on YouTube. So I'm going to do the same thing over here, but this time I'm pulling away again because of the direction of these wings. And now I'm going to flip it over and same thing. And I find it helps to flip her over along with flipping it over to the other side. And same deal. You want to pull away from the body, but because of the direction here, I'm actually going to pull away and pull down. All right, you following? And that is going to help me bring out these details here. but I do like this nice big chonker brush for the dry brushing for these wings for sure. I use these all the time when it comes to scales, scales actually. It's great on scales. Scales are lovely for this type of a brush. So if you have a dragon, get a big one like this one. And I'm just going to keep pulling here, keeping the away and down motion as much as possible. And you can see I'm not having to go back in and dip my brush that often. A little is going a very long way. And you can see the difference here as well. This is what it looks like with the first round. This is what it looks like with the wash in the second round. Let's see here. Gomez is saying, have to go and buy an elf. D. Nicole, it's a very good question. D. Nicole is asking me on Twitch, do you usually use multiple layers of highlight and shadow on things like wings and scales or just one? Normally on larger minis, I will do a few rounds because I find with the larger minis, you're able to play around with your depth more with your paints. So you can start doing more of a layering action. It's actually a technique from oil painting that I've brought into my miniature painting. With oil painting, you can do layers of the colors and you can get your undertones built upon your midtones, upon your upper highlights and everything like that. So with my larger miniatures, yes, I will sometimes do a highlighting, a wash, and then another highlighting. Normally for my smaller minis, because they are more compact, I don't want to lose details, I try and keep it to just doing a wash and highlight on those. And then let me see here. Question from Zardar is, how rough are you being on your dry brushing strokes compared to the base coating? I'm very light-handed with it. It looks like I'm being more firm because I'm working so quickly, but it's actually just like I'm not even getting it on my skin. It's a very light touch. If you saw the paint go on my face, then I'm being rough, but it's not that rough at all. It just looks like it because my brush is moving so quickly on the screen. It's a very gentle touch that you want. And I'm going in for a very light coating here. All right, a little bit, change of direction here just because of the layering there, but let me see here. I want just a little bit more, and then I'm going to let this dry a little bit while we talk about the armor. Let me see here. And if you have a question for me, I know I forgot to say this in the beginning. If you have a question for me, please type in all caps question with your question, because my eye will find that a heck of a lot faster. What was I just reading? A heck of a lot faster than if you type in a question without that lead to it. So if you could, I'd appreciate it. All right, I'm liking, basically what I'm looking for is making sure each of these have a touch of gray. Here we go again, another touch of gray. So this is the look I'm getting close to that I want. I'm gonna do a little bit more loving here on the ends. Because I do want to bring that out just a little bit more. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let me see here. And I think kudos to that makeup lady. Well, thank you. I have said this in the past, and I will mention it again, especially with a mini of this size, because you can actually play around with the bone structure. If you watch makeup tutorials that focus on contouring and highlighting, I do recommend that as a mini painter, you watch some of those because they have great tips and techniques for bringing out the facial structure of a miniature as well. You are essentially doing the same thing with paint that a makeup artist does with makeup. So if you're ever curious as to how you can improve your painting skills for faces, check out makeup tutorials. I'm not even kidding. You'll learn a lot from them. You'll learn a lot about the differences in tones and in colors and everything like that, and where putting in those different colors will change the shape of the face or enhance different areas of the face. So come on, hop on over to YouTube, catch a live stream on Twitch of someone doing their makeup, and pay attention. Okay, so that is the one wing. I want that to dry a little bit before I go in and do the wash. So now I'm going to move over to the armor. Now the armor, I also want to go in, and I am going to be doing some dry brushing on this. Reason being is that there are all these fantastic details that are popping out. I was playing around with the jewel work here just because I wanted to see if it would work. I knew I was going to go back in and do some highlighting. So I'm not going to concern myself too much if I get some highlighting on the ones that are already painted. And I'll go and do the painting of the rest after I've done the armor work. Basically, I was kind of betting on the fact that some of these things are going to get a little bit extra on them because of playing with colors. I want to do that ahead of time. So I'm going to go in now. And on this armor, this is where... Where'd you go? I'm looking. This is where I'm going to go back in with dark sand. Now remember, dark sand is this color right here at the tip of the wings. So I'm going to go back in with dark sand from the model line from Vallejo. And that is going to be my dry brush on the armor. First round of dry brush. Remember, I've already done my wash. I'm not going to go back in and do a wash. I don't want to do that because I'm looking again towards the artwork. You're very welcome, Night Terrain. Hopefully that comes in handy for you. Really good. And also a lot of them will go into color theory. You'll find with makeup artists, professional ones, they explain warm tones, cool tones, neutral tones, and it becomes very helpful for translating over to miniature painting as well. So that's why I will mention, check out makeup tutorials. Not so much nail painting tutorials, because, you know, that's usually just taking the lacquer and going to town. But those can actually be really cool in terms of learning how to mold things or sort of kit bash your miniature and add things to them with their the new like gel stuff that's coming out. So look for the ones that have like the really crazy looking nails. They actually have come up with some cool tips that I have noticed. I'm like, that could translate well for kit bashing and adding things onto miniatures. Well, it's not a non sequitur. It actually is relevant to what we're talking about. I'm just not going to be doing it to this miniature. So same idea. I'm going back in with that brush, which I did rinse. Now it has the dark sands, which is actually a lovely light golden tone. And what I'm going to do now is just take this and pull this across the armor. And I'm going to start getting those higher edges. And I am being very light-handed at this point. And you'll see my strokes are a little bit more deliberate because I know I'm working around other colors. And I don't really want to get this golden tone, say on these feathers or on this portion here. Again, this is where having that tip really does come in handy. Let's see if I can cheat it through here a little bit. But right now, the name of the game is to bring out the edges of the armor. So let me just do a little bit more work on this side. And what I'll do is I'll get this side dry brushed and show you the difference between the side I will still need to do when I'm done. But again, it is basically making sure your brush is floating across the top of the surface. You don't want it to get into those little nooks and crannies. Again, I'm not worrying about this because I actually kind of want that color to come into play to play up the opal. Because if you look at opals, opals sort of have this blend of colors underneath. And I really want to make sure these edges are what's popping. And also these lovely little swirl details, I want to make sure those get a little bit of love as well. I may even go in with a more narrow brush soon and do that. I have used nail polish. Viper Tahaj is talking about nail painting stuff could be useful for glossy painting tricks. I have used nail polish on miniatures before with some really good success, actually. Just make sure that when you go to seal them, that you seal them with a nice top coat. I'm not even kidding. Because they are more brittle and they can chip. So whatever you're using, make sure it's something where it's not going to get moved around too much. They're great for, actually nail polish is great for magic effects. I will say that. I am going to move down to a smaller brush so I can get a little bit better in there. Need more on my brush now. Let's see here. Question, do I have a preference between the game, color, and Vallejo? D. Nicole is asking me if I have preferences with the lines on Vallejo, whether it's game, color, or model. I am actually going to say, quite frankly, I have no preferences in paints whatsoever. I will use everything from Vallejo to craft paints. And it's one of those things where when you've worked with various paints long enough, all of them become open game for miniatures in my book. So I will show you in a little bit, actually, because there are a few paints that I need to use for special effects that I am pulling from Plaid. And they have worked beautifully on miniatures for me in the past. I've actually had some miniatures that are all craft paints, just because it's, you know, what I had on hand and what I wanted to use. But in terms of Vallejo, I like both, and I'll explain why I like both. With the game color line, you will find that the tones are a bit more vivid and brighter and more colorful for some of them. So I will gravitate towards the game color line because of that. With the model color line, I find they have a richer source of more earth tones and things along those lines. So that is why I will use both of them and why I don't prefer one over the other, because I need each for what they uniquely offer in the collection. You can get away with just having one, though. I will say that. And don't forget, you can see them all behind me. These are from Vallejo. Okay, Vallejo is working with us. We're licensed with them. So Vallejo sells these. WizKids does not, but it does have the WizKids logo because we've worked with them on this. But they do have kits now that you can find in your FLGS and you can find online. Hello, Bill Afternoon. So that way, if you wanted to kind of get a feel for everything, you can do that. And it's not one of the huge, massive cases. I have like the big old case of both of them. But it's a really great starter way. And you can even go smaller with one of the little individual sets where you still get a good selection of paints in them. This one has 8 paints. All right, so that's a way if you wanted to test out the colors from Vallejo, you can very easily do that. Let me see here. Question. Jorge is asking, is there a way you can extend the life of your paints? Citadel paint, by the way. Yes, if your paints are starting to dry, you can use, and I often will use it, especially with the mentioned paint on your part, Jorge, airbrush thinner. Airbrush paint thinner is lovely at helping with that. Or Flow Aid is also another thing that is called. Vallejo does sell it. But I find that those help immensely. No, hold on. Those do help immensely in terms of bringing your paints back to life a little bit if they're starting to get a little dried or cakey on you. I would recommend that. Another thing that will help with the duration of your paints, keeping them lively and everything like that, because, you know, sometimes they do have a bad habit of drying out on you. Some people will transfer some of their paint pot style paints into eyedroppers. Okay, so if it is a paint pot style paint and you want to preserve its life a little bit longer, go onto Amazon and buy eyedroppers, and you can transfer your paint over into the eyedropper bottle. Get a funnel. Okay, please get a funnel. See, Zardos just backed me up on that one by basically saying the same thing. So that will help you with those particular paints, keeping them a lively, usable paint a little bit longer for you. Okay, I do want to get this here. Being very careful about this zone. Because she is such a textured miniature, I know this brush is pretty much going to get shifted to terrain dry brushing after I'm done with her. But I'm just dancing the brush along the edge here of the armor. Again, being cognizant of where I'm applying this, because I don't want to get this up in a hair. Just got her hair all nice and finished. But just being very gentle and light here. Yeah, I think I am going to shift to my smaller brush. There are a couple spots I want to hit, but I don't want to hit with the big brush because of how I'm afraid it might just be a little bit too large. I'm trying to get this set up for a side-by-side. Bear with me. Okay, so this is with the dry brushing here. You can see the edges are a little bit lighter and pop out more in comparison to the side that is not dry brush. And as you can see, this is now starting to look flat in comparison to what's happening here. So you can see the difference there. See? Ba-bum. Bum-bum. All right, so that is why. I need my smaller flat. And again, with paintbrushes, I'm not a paintbrush snob because quite frankly, I'm too hard on them to be particular. I have always been terrible to my brushes ever since I was a wee child. I am going to just put that into my water for a minute because, and this is just the smaller what I want to do. If it'll let me, if I can get the right angle. Yes, that's a Minecraft reference. I am taking the smaller flat brush and I'm actually going over these lovely scroll details a little bit more because I really want those to jump out more. So the big brush is great for the swath, getting like the larger area. And you'll find, I'm trying to peek over her wing here, you'll find that the smaller is better for getting the scrolls. Because I really do want those to pop out more. They're just such a gorgeous detail. Let me get a little bit more here because it was definitely tricky to get that larger brush along the edge there. Yeah, it's you know, bye-bye brush. I try not to get attached to brushes because of knowing how I work with them. So I'm going to take this and go very gently, very carefully through here. Just to bring out the line more, you can see. So you will need to adjust your brush sizes depending on the area in which you're working. That's perfectly all right, my dears. That's what you need it to do. And normally I would do like all big brush and then shift to small brush. But like I said, I want you to see the differences between the two sides. Because it does make a difference. It may not seem it at first, but as you go through and really go back over areas like I'm doing right now, everything just starts popping out that much more. Debating if the music is distracting me or not. I'm not sure yet. Okay, but here we go. That is with the dry brushed, and that is without. So I'm going to do this to the other side now. My hair? No, Gomez. Although, you know, a strand of hair is great for getting eye work if you're looking for a very tiny pupil brush. So I'm just going to go in now with a smaller brush while I'm here. And I'm just going to pop it onto these little bit of more scrolls that I have going around on her armor. So sort of carry the small brush through the whole armor area, and then I'll go back with the larger brush and do what I did on the other side. But I really wanted to show you how the larger can work so nicely. And again, it's just a very light, easy touch. You don't need to be heavy-handed. And that is something you'll be able to feel in time if you have the right amount of paint, which is why it's always good to practice, practice, practice. I am going to use this here on this area because I know that brush is not going to fit nicely against all of this. So I'm using the smaller brush to come in here and get the edges of the armor openings for the wings. And we have more scrolls up here, which I want to hit. If you have an issue with getting your pupils even on your miniatures there, Gomez, flip your miniature upside down. It keeps your brain from matrixing the human face, and it's easier to find symmetry in application. So literally start painting your eyes with your miniature upside down. It does help. It's an old trick I learned from my art professor in college for portraiture. If you flip the face upside down, it's easier to get the details and you can break apart the face more. Let's see, just, well, you could see if the wing didn't keep popping in the way. See, I'm working on the scrolls back here. But these are all lovely little details, and I'm even going to get it around here on the opal, because there's some lovely texture here in the opal, which just doing a very light brush helps bring that out again. It's actually a lot more evident, come to speak of it. I need to do it here. While I have this out, very, very carefully. Okay. See, there are other areas back here I want to get. Just a little bit, yeah. And again, hopefully, name of the game is to get her done by the end of the stream. And we're at the 12:45 mark. I think we'll be good, yeah. I think we'll manage it. So see, I'm just going in and I'm just playing up these edges a little bit more with a smaller brush in areas that the other brush couldn't quite get to. You're definitely going to want it for this side because of the curvature that's happening here in the wing. Well, hello, Jedi Jim. Thank you. It's the Isperia Law Incarnate miniature from the Magic the Gathering line. Let's see if we can do this with it in camera now. The wings definitely like to hop up and get in the way. I think I'm going to switch to the big brush soon as I get the collar area attacked. The collar, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the brush and very lightly gliding it to bring out all that texture and the edge. And then once I get this round of dry brushing done, I'm going to do the wash on the wing because that's looking like it's ready for that. Play this up more. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my other brush now. So yeah, definitely have the two different size brushes. That's very pretty, Gunpla. That's the thing I like about miniature painting is everyone sort of has their own takes, ouch, in terms of how they want to complete their miniature. All right. Whoops, water drop. Now, when you have just rinsed a brush and you're going to go in and do some dry brushing, you do want to make sure your brush is nicely dry. Don't go in with a wet brush and try and dry brush. You're basically just creating an issue. All right. Hello, Shinobi. Yes, if you're watching and you're enjoying yourselves, you know, thumbs ups are appreciated. They're always appreciated. Even if you're not in the chat and you're watching later, a thumbs up would be lovely. Thank you very much. Smash the like button. Okay, going back in, still using dark sands and jumping back up to my larger brush. Again, I'm just going to go through here and work on more detail work. Again, I'm being very careful when I get to the edges here. I'm really making sure to tip things so that my brush does not get along the fur. I'm not worrying about the opal areas because quite frankly, a little touch of that golden color won't be a bad thing for them at all. But we're getting somewhere, darlings. We're getting somewhere. In terms of what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go in with a little bit of that sky blue. That'll smear. Oh, I think we're getting to the music I'm playing today is Techno Axe. A lovely source of music, especially for streamers. If you're a streamer, I do recommend you check them out. Have a big variety of different types of music, and I like to use them since we're doing a couple places at once. It helps. We are almost there. Almost there. And I will say, there are some areas on this miniature where, try as you might, you may not be able to reach everything perfectly. So just be aware of that as you're painting. It is okay if some places aren't 100%. That's going to be tricky regardless. Okay, let me see under her tummy. How am I doing there? Oh, not too bad. I actually got a good amount under there, so we're good. Just make sure I give everything the love and care and attention it deserves. Also, if you're new, I speak in voices. I'm a DM. You can't hear any music? Ah! I can always turn it up a little bit. I had it turned down because I was afraid it'd be too loud. Yeah, the underside and the inner legs are very tricky. In fact, I would recommend going in and painting those first and get them out of the way. And now I'm going to do what I always do when it comes to dry brushing for armor. Sometimes I'll go back and forth a little bit. Let's see, I'm getting these details popping. Oh, I'm not going to do the blue. I'm going to do ghost gray, I think, is what I was planning on doing. Since I didn't get too much of the back address before. So I was using that smaller brush. I do want to go through here. And see, it just brings out more details. It gives the armor a little less, monotone. You start bringing out the textures in the armor as well. Like right through there, you see? Good morning, Leonardo! Lovely to see you. Thanks for hopping in. Well, I guess it's afternoon here, so as the lovely DM Jazzy Hands likes to say, happy time zone, or good time zone to you, something along those lines. All right. All right. I could do this for ages. That's the problem. Put the miniature down. Step away from the mini. Okay, so because I need this all to dry now, the dry brushing I just did here, before I move on to the next technique I like to do with Ama, I'm going to go and do the wash on the wings. Why am I forgetting what the word was? I'm going to do the wash on the flappy thing. That's not the technical term, but hey, I'm going to put the wash on the flappy flap. Okay, hello, Jeremiah McCoy is asking, any suggestions for starter kits? She can speak, folks, in mini painting. These, quite frankly, if they really want to get into it, gravitate towards these first. However, if you want to make sure they like it in the first place, the smaller kits, like these, are a good option because it gives you basic colors, just to see if they're into it. If you check online, it's from Vallejo. Vallejo sells these. WizKids does not, but we work with them. Hence our, our logo being on there. But yeah, I would check those out in your stores, your FLGS, which means Friendly Local Game Store, for those of you not familiar with that acronym. Oh, dry brushing, you absolutely can lose so much time to it. That's where I will hit my zen. So right now I've grabbed the Umber Wash from Vallejo. Where's the brush I like? And I like to use, is this the brush? I don't know. Mama, please. I think that's the brush I like to use. Or did I? Yeah, that's the brush I like to use. Okay, so I'm using this one. sort of a nice all-purpose brush, but it's great for applying wash because you can kind of get into those smaller nooks and crannies. And the paint night kits are also good too, Ron Davis. Thank you for mentioning though that, because those are starting to be able to be sold in store after the paint night is done. So check with your FLGS with those as well, because then you get the mini and the paints that go with the mini. And the next paint night will be happening in spring. I want to say April or May. It just shifted on the time, and that's not on the top of my head right now. Okay, so I'm going in with the Umber Wash, and I found it easiest to start on the inside of the wing. And if you've never applied a wash before, the point is to get it down into the nooks and crannies. Okay, so I want it to get down deep in there. So when it comes to applying wash to things like feathers and scales, just like you saw me doing with the dry brush, I actually work from the bottom to the top because I find it gets the wash in deeper and more into those recessed areas, especially where the wings overlap, or the feathers, I keep saying that, where the feathers overlap on each other. If you ever find you have too much wash in one thing, like I just did because I looked up, you can always blot your brush and quickly use the brush to wick away excess wash, okay? You can either blot off onto your paper towel, or you can move it over to another area if you need to, but that's a little trick if you have excess wash that's pooling up on you. Let me see here. Their washes, they have a variety of colors, I will say that. Personal preference, I do tend to go towards Citadel. I just like their color more or something. I don't know. Everyone has their own preferences with some things when it comes to washes, I have found. Paints, I don't really play favorites too much, but washes... But obviously I'm using Vallejos right now with no issue. And I'm just going through and remember, we're going back over and doing one last round of dry brushing on this. So even though it may start looking dark again, that's okay because I want to add that depth into the wings. And it's honestly why I do that first layer of dry brushing, because what it does is it picks up the colors of the wash a little bit more. In this case, I'm just pulling this down the wing a little bit, but this is with, and as it dries, it darkens up on you. And honestly, when it's damp, it also pushes the light back over at you. Yes. So that's why it helps to have a little paper towel next to you, so you can just blot off the extra bits. I'm just going to flip this over and do the same thing on the other wing. Again, pulling, oh no, pulling from, there we go. Pulling from the bottom up to the top of the wing. Hopefully that's showing up for you. But I wanted you to see this step in the process. But because dry time is important, we're going to let this dry, and I'm going to do a little bit of an unboxing soon of a certain creepy crawler. So that'll work out nicely. At the top of the hour, I will unbox the blue Dracolich. I don't know why I just, decided the Dracolich is part of Barovia, but I did. I do. I need more wash. Doodle-doodle-doodle-doo. Let me just quickly check here. And again, some people do like to thin their washes. Let's see, I'm seeing some puddling here. I'm just going to quickly go in while I have this flipped over. Pull, 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 pull. Not too bad, though. Some people like to thin out their washes. A lot of it depends on how drastic of a color shift you want to have. Because keep in mind, some washes, they will change the tones of your paint. So you need to be aware of that. If you're ever unsure and you're about to jump into using a new wash, I recommend doing a swatch test, which basically just take, you know, take a piece of sprue or take something comparable to the mini you're about to paint, scrap materials or whatever. Put the paint you want to use on it first, just, you know, quick little streaks, and then put the wash you're thinking about using over that if you're unsure. So that way you can check your colors before you go into the effort of working on your miniature and you realize, okay, well, that just took my mini from being vibrant colors to very dull and muted. That's not what I wanted, and that can happen. So just be aware of that with washes. They can affect your colors. And that's often why I will say when people say, well, how come you're using this color if you're going to be looking for that color? All right, we even talked about this with the wings. I forgot who asked in the chat, but someone said, well, how come you're using these really golden bright tones on the wings when the wings have more of a grayish tone, lighter tone? Because I knew I was aiming for this, not what's happening over here. So it helps to sort of know. All right, Goblin Katie, thank you so much for hanging with us today. I know, those darn work schedules. So what's going to happen now is I'm just quickly looking at if I have any pooling, which there's a couple of little points, not too many. So I'm just pulling the excess out with my brush really quick and blotting it. Same thing over here, not too many. Just a couple little spots. It happens. It absolutely happens, but that helps me pull that away. And now we're going to let that dry. Okay, so we want that wing to definitely dry before I touch it, because the thing is when I move on to the armor, I know I'm going to be touching that spot. But this is the wash now on the wings. So once that dries, we're going to do one more round of the dry brushing and we'll end up with that. Alrighty. Let us, shall we, should we, can we, hi! All right, let's take a look. Oh, I've got a creaky chair. I'm going to get some WD-40 on that. So let's take a look, my darlings, at... oh, this. No. This is the blue, adult blue Dracolich from the D&D Icons of the Realms Boneyard. This is up for pre-order now, coming out in March 2021. How did I get a fuzzy there? So basically, this is one of those things I want you to get a closer look at it because they're really cool. I showed you the green Dracolich last week, and that was honestly, that one's my favorite of the Dracoliches just because of the pose, but still the blue is stunning and it is beautiful and I want you to see this. So let's take it out. It's the same thing as the other one. You have the open window in the front so you can see. It doesn't have the side like the green did because of the green's position, but you do get artwork. Turn this to an ASMR thing. And then in the back, you get that, and you'll see that this coordinates with, and next week, the unboxing of the Boneyard is going to be happening next week. So I'm going to show you the miniatures from the booster brick next week. So join me for that one. I'm also going to show you the special promo sets that are available when you go to order. I'm going to talk about them now, but it's one of those things where if you purchase from your FLGS, they will have skeleton orcs, a promo skeleton orc set. How they decide they want to distribute it to their customers is completely up to them. But if you want the skeleton orcs that go with Boneyard, you go to your FLGS. If you want to get the skeleton, this is gonna bug me, the skeleton kobolds, that's where you want to go to dndmini.com. And when you place a pre-order for Boneyard, the kobold set will be included. So please keep that in mind. Let us take it out of the box, shall we? It's kind of like Christmas. Hee. All right, now let me just, I need to do this away from the microphone. For that very reason. Box go live there. So it comes in, it's not closed tightly. So it comes in the classic clan blister. All right. And all I have to do, there are these secure points. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 points of secure. You just pop them apart. Okay. And out comes this gorgeous creature. So here is, look at this. I'm loving my new cameras too. The fact that I can show you this beautifully detailed creature without having to toggle with my settings all the time is a big help. But here is the blue Dracolich, or Dracolich. And it just, I'm not a fan. Oh, it matches my eyes. I'm sorry, random thought. Pay no attention to me. I've been painting a lot lately. I'm picking up colors. So, oh, power is out. Oh, Gomez. I hope you get power return soon enough for you. I remember when a snowstorm hit when I lived in Texas. It is not a fun experience. Thinking of you. So you can see it has these beautiful lighter blue tones. And there's still some spots of more vivid blue. Remember, this is sort of nodding to the decay of things, which is why the green Dracolich is so dark of a green. All right, when as it decays, it starts to change colors and all that loveliness. And it has the breath coming out as well. But there are, like here, look at this. You see? This vertebrae? It's just, oh, it's so, it's, I'm gonna flip it over to where I was doing the mini paintings, but I want you to get a sense of scale here, and there it is. Can I reach that? Yeah, I can. Hold on. Pardon my arm. Okay, so sense of scale. This is one of the Eberron miniatures. So there you go. For your sense of scale here. Now let me flip it over to the camera. Excuse me, Isperia, darling. Let's go overhead. So you can see here. Look at these details. I mean, you have just the decaying flesh, and then the insides, like, you know, there's the musculature on the bones still in some areas. And there's so much texture within the wings and on the bones themselves. The bones have like that corroded, pockmarked look to them. It's not just, oh, hey, it's a bone, there's no texture. So that's one of the wings. And that's the other wing. It's just, it's so creepy. I love it. And I love the tearing effect here in the wings. We saw that on the Black Dragon too. The adult Black Dragon has a very similar effect. There's a couple of opening spots on their wings. And the talons are this jet black. It's a lovely model. Yeah, splendid. Pop this down a little bit. So you can see that. And then I want you to see this tail. Look at this. There you go. Pop. There's the color and the details. It's a beautiful piece. It really is. I still like the green Dracolich because of the pose. That's really more my preference. I like the... I guess I have a thing for dragons with their feet on the ground. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I like the Charlin, I like the Black Dragon, and I like... Yeah, I think I prefer them not in flight. I just realized that about my preferences with miniatures. But that gives you a sense for the tail. And then can I get the... There we go. See, look at these vertebrae. Vertebrae. Right there. Look at all that. Those little extra details. Texture to it. It's a beautiful miniature. It really is. Hello, Gabe! Thanks for joining! So yes, this is the adult blue Dracolich. Or Dracolich. It's gonna be one of those things for me. Artificer. I hear it so many different ways. My brain's like, yeah, whatever. But it really is a stunning piece. It's lofted in flight, breath weapon going, wings open. It's almost like you can hear the sound they make. Oh, and RV, you're right, Kay Calkins. RV is also feet on ground, and I do like her shape. Maybe that's it, Gomez. Gomez says maybe because they're more imposing on the floor. You might be onto something. Because then, like, imminent danger, they're right there. They're going to chomp on you. So here it is. Again, this is available for pre-order now. You know, I'm going to start with contact your FLGS. All right. Let them know you're interested in the Boneyard blue Dracolich and you want to place your order with them. If you do not know if there is a local game store near you, then look right over here. Okay, you can use that web link, plug in your information, and it'll generate stores that are in your area who carry WizKids products. And you can contact them and find out if they're doing things like maybe they might be shipping, they might be doing scheduled pickups, they might be doing reservations for when you can come and visit the shop. A lot of FLGS are working within safety parameters, so please reach out to them first. If you do all that and it is not an option for you, then you can go and check out dmdmini.com, and that is where you can also get, don't forget, local FLGS has the Orc Skeletons promo box, and if you go to dndmini.com to place your pre-order, that's where the Cobalt Skeleton one will be an option for you. But there you go, right there. So place your pre-orders today, coming out later, March. I don't have an official date yet. It's still tagged as later just because, you know, shipping in the world and things like that. It's still a factor, unfortunately. But get that all lined up. I'm playing these. Which one's the top, which one's the bottom? Get that all lined up, and then you two will be a proud owner of this stunningly creepy, disgustingly wonderful adult blue Dracolich, because it is quite nice looking. Let me see. Oh no, that's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that there are some that are no longer there, but that's quite frankly, folks, please reach out to your FLGS. A lot of people think, well, they're not open anymore. You might be surprised. Do give them a call, email them, something along those lines. Give them a chance. All right. Yeah, I'm thinking we're good enough with the wings. The wings are it still needs to dry slightly. Let's go to the overhead again. Still needs to dry slightly. I am seeing a slight sheen every so often. That means that the wash is still a little damp. Don't touch it. GM Lee is in the chat. Don't touch it. Is a joke. But there's still a little bit of glossing that I'm getting through here. So I know it's not quite dry yet. But the armor is now where I want it to be for that last round of what I was going to do. So let me get my brushes out of the water, because I want that big brush back. Give me back my big brush. And if you're just joining us, hello. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed that unveiling of the lovely, lovely miniature from Boneyard. Oh, they've been gone for years. Okay, Zardoz, that makes sense. Let me see here. I am going to go back to, oh yeah, this brush is this is definitely going to be terrain when it's done, because it's starting to do, how do I know when my brushes are done? I have been getting asked that question. When they start to flare out more, like you can see it's starting to go whoop, like fluting out, that's when I know it's going to be time to flip this over to using for, like, you know, painting terrain and stuff like that. It's still workable today, but it's not at the point where I want to do anything else. So now I'm actually going to be flipping brands, simply because there are some effect paints. Hold on. This is the one I wanted. There are some effect paints that I have from Plaid that I would prefer to use on this miniature, simply because they're the colors and they are the intensity that I want for the special effects. Keep in mind that Vallejo does have comparable things. I personally don't have them. All right, that is the thing. I don't have the Vallejo equivalent to. So just because I'm using this doesn't mean that Vallejo doesn't have it. They do. I just don't have things like their color shifting paints and things like that. All right, so I am going to go in and I'm going to... Have I really not used this? Oh, I grabbed one that wasn't opened yet. I have like 5 of this color. Pardon me. Whenever you go to cut a label, just cut away from the body, please, folks. Don't cut too. That should do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the taupe metallic from Folk Art. It's this beautiful, beautiful tone that, quite frankly, let me go back to the image. It's going to capture the look that is in the official artwork, which is why I am using this one in particular, because I know exactly how it's going to come out, and that's why I want to use it. So, same idea. I'm going to use a dry brush technique for this, and you'll see why I wanted to make sure I had a base tone color going on here. Nope, don't use that one anymore. I'm going to get a fresh paper towel for this. So same thing, I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to pull most of the paint off, not necessarily all of it, and I'm going to start applying this to where I have the gold armor. And it's called overbrushing, so it is similar to dry brushing in that you don't have a fully loaded brush, but you are still applying it more as opposed to just bringing out the edges. I am trying to get this onto the armor itself. You can see right there. So it's a very lightly coated brush that you are using for this. I will be jumping in with the smaller one, the smaller flat brush, to keep applying it in those tighter areas. But for now, I want to use this to get into the larger spots. And what I'm doing is just basically adding a very thin coat. You know, let me get it on the foot so you can see. Doing a very, very light coat so that the base coat will play through, so that the highlighted areas still also come through. It's not a very thick coating. It is very, very light. But now you have that sheen of the metal happening right there. So you can catch the metal glow, which is what I want to do. And again, it will bring the color of the armor down a little bit, or lighten it up, I should say. So that is the name of the game here. Just going to go through here and get this applied to all the armor. I'm actually tempted to move to that smaller brush now. We shall see. Yeah, let me try the smaller brush and see if that makes a difference. Yeah. Now it's a party. If anything, I may not complete the miniature in full, but I'll at least get all of the detail work tips done for you. So it's just a very light coating of this metallic. I don't want it to completely blur out the green ochre, but you can see now the armor has that shine to it, which I wanted. I do want to get it here. Yeah. With the overbrush. And again, that's sort of like dry brushing, but it's with a little bit more paint on the brush, essentially. This music got right quick frantic. What is going on here? Give it a little spin here so you can see. See it picks up in the light. Okay, so I'm going to keep going around and doing that. Very carefully through. Try my best not to get it into the hair or the feathers. And that's honestly why I'm waiting on the dry brushing here, because I know I might slip a little bit. It's easier to put the dry brush over that blue area, and that'll help mask if I slipped a little, because that happens, and it's okay. All right, let me get the belly. Get the belly of the beast, so to speak. You will definitely find working in between and underneath, you're going to have to move that mini around a lot. I'm trying to make sure I'm not touching the wrong wing too. It's like I don't want to muck up the wing. I really don't. And initially I thought I was going to do the talons a different color, but I'm actually kind of liking how they look in line with the, that's the one I want to be careful with, in line with the other gold tones. So I think I'm going to leave them as is. All right, booty shot. There's just no way around it. That booty. And again, I want to stress, this is not a thick coating of paint. You don't want this to act as another full coverage layer. You're just looking to add a metallic glow to your armor, which ironically is showing up best on the backside. So it goes. Just see here, yeah, I need to get over here to get under there. Like I said, you're gonna have to move this around a lot just to get to some of the angles, and that's okay. In fact, I have to pull this back for myself so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Hold on. You'll see me have to do this every so often where I pull it off the main frame. No pun intended. just to work this into where I need to reach but cannot under the camera. So I'm just going to quickly get the areas I know are going to be really tricky to reach under the camera, and then I'll put her back under so you can see me continue to work. But it's basically getting around the leg area that can be a little wonky. Don't neglect leg day. Think of it that way. But you can see what I'm doing here. Basically, I have her upside down, purposely getting into the sides I know I can't hit from the top. Okay. So now that just gets it so that she is nice and glossy. I can show it. There, you can see the armor's been, see, got the metal under there too. I'm just gonna keep going around. Still using the smaller brush. And it's overbrushing. Because I really wanted to pick up what the tones were doing in the official artwork. And I won't be doing any other wash or anything like that on her once this is on. This is basically the last step for the armor. In terms of when it comes to sealing this up, I would absolutely make sure that at the very least I am using a satin finish varnish. Do not go matte when it comes to armor. It doesn't work out well. Unless you want it to look really old and beaten up. Then yes, use a matte finish on your varnish, or use a matte varnish for your finish to seal up your miniature. What came first, chicken or egg? Just making sure I'm getting everything. Okay, back is looking good. Let me finish getting this leg down here. Again, I'm trying to avoid the wet wing. It's not too wet anymore. It's just slightly damp now. So that is something. Once I do this, I'm going to go and start working on the jewels. I was holding my breath. That was what the sigh was about. We're almost there. Did I get that part? It's hard to tell. I don't think I did. There's one leg I need to get there. There we go. Okay, so just need to work on this side of her body and we'll be good. And again, you don't have to work as quickly as I do with my brush. I, have been doing this for a while now, so my brush work tends to be faster. You can absolutely, and you should take your time when you're first starting out. Once again, I'm not too concerned about that coloring getting onto the jewels. It's actually to my benefit, so I'm playing into that. Just the same thing, making sure I'm getting this onto the armor itself. With the overbrush, which is sort of like, the sister to dry brushing, is a good way to explain it. All right. And I'm thinking, there we go with the armor. I'm actually using my camera to make sure I've gotten all the spots, but you can see how the armor now has this glowing quality to it. Those details still pop out and all that goodness. There you go. All right, so let me put that down for a second so I can rinse the brush. Let's see, how are we doing? Ah, it's 1:21. We're doing well. We are doing well. I do need to get a sip of tea, please. Tea, please. And thank you for those of you still hanging out and watching. I very much appreciate it. I can see you both here on YouTube and on Twitch. Hi, hello. Okay. One last quick check. Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so I'm going to quick look at the reference photo. So you can see we have these opal-like jewels, and they kind of vary in color a little bit here and there. So what I am doing is the color itself, I'm going to show you how I did that. And then the effect paint is what's going to shift the coloration that you're seeing, so that some look a little bit more blue tone, some look more purple, and some just look like, you know, pearly white. It's going to depend on which one of those I'm going to be using it. Let me see here. So let's go back to the overhead. What I did for this, and it's not showing up as much as I had hoped it would on the camera. It's very subtle. I actually used sky blue, and I'm going to put a dot on my palette. Then I went to, where did it go? Bone white. And I'm putting a drop next to that one. And then, where are you? Ghost gray. Okay, put the 3 dots next to each other. Bump, 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 bump. Just like that. Okay, you can see it, this little trio right here. I'm taking the back of a paintbrush and I'm giving it a very rough swirl. I'm not mixing it completely. All right, you can see the colors are sort of mixed into each other, but not into a new blended tone. That's important. So, did I rinse you? I did rinse you. I think I rinsed you. You can go live there for a little bit longer. Then what I did is I'm going to go in with this particular style brush, simple round, and I'm just dipping my paintbrush into the swirled paint, is the best way to describe it. And then for that, I'm going to go in, actually, really quick, check the image again. Yes, those are jewels. Just making sure that those are also jewels. And then what I'm going to do is just very carefully go in here, and you'll see, is that popping out here? Not as much, but basically when you go to apply this, you'll see the paint swirls. And you want it to be like that so that you can have sort of the multi-tone colors that happen in opals. It'll take on more of a bluish hue, I will say that, because that's the color that wants to overpower. But you just basically go in and let the paints just sort of flow over. And you'll get very subtle nods to the cream and the gray. That's happening. Let me just check something a little bit closer to my own eye. I think it's like that. I do need to pull this closer so I can see what I am doing. So that's really how I got, oop, if you have a mistake, you can just quick jump in, pull the paint away. Okay, so, and you'll start to get some cool things. And that's why I'm okay with this gold happening on top of the other ones, because as you can see, it starts to get a cool effect to it that way. So I'm just going to go through and add the not blended combination of paints to all these little dots. for all the little jewels that she has going on here. I don't know what this song is, but I am trying to get this detail painted right now, so I can't shift it over. Okay. And you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I would just recommend you can go with the Ghost Gray if you wanted to have like a basic clearer tone opal, or you could use the Bone White and then do what the next step is going to be that I'm going to do. And again, I'm trying to be very careful of not putting my hands against that wing that is still drying. It's almost dry, but I just want to be careful. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. Okay. So there we go with those. Let me just quick check again. I don't think those are... No, that is just gold. I was looking at the chest plate. So you can hear this one? So you can hear the music. All right. So I'm gonna... You know what? Let me just pull these. I can't do this with under the camera. I'm so sorry. The ones under the wings I can't do under the camera because the angle I need to get to, I'm gonna start smacking everything, and I don't want to do that. So what happens is because you have those swirled colors together, it's almost like your brush blends it, but not perfectly. So you get little hints of pigments from all three of the colors dancing around on it for a really neat look. Yeah, the ones that are under the wings, I have to. You can see I just got the one there, but I need to come off screen for that. It's just easier for me to not have a camera hanging over my hand. But I'm honestly excited for the next step of what I'm going to do to these to kind of give them that glow. Well, this just up-tempoed the music. Don't dance, Vee. Don't dance. We're painting, not dancing. Okay. So you just got that one. I'm just going to keep going around and get the ones down the back. And I'm not even worried that some of this green ochre is playing through, because again, it just gives that nod to the depth of colors you can find in opal stones. So I want that to come out and play a little bit, actually. Is that going to be a wing shot? That's a wing shot. All right, then I'm going to pull this close to me so I can actually hit it. I need to rinse my brush a little bit. Again, just getting this on all of those jewel spots. So you can kind of get the modeling that's happening there. You want that. It's not a trade secret brush stroke. It is literally, I'm going to be on the camera with some of these angles. I don't want to do that if I can help it. And let's see if I can do... I don't know if I can. No, I can't. I definitely can't. Let's see, there we have another one. And I'm just working my way down and around to get all of these little raised bits for those lovely stones on her armor. This one I might be able to keep. And honestly, it helps just to have a bead of paint at the tip of your brush and use that, not so much the bristle of the brush, to guide around. At least for me, that's what I tend to do. See another jewel there. And there's one over here. She's got a lot of these. Pardon my sniffle. Okay. There be pirates coming. We're suddenly at like the docks. Yeah, I'm liking these a lot. You'll see they all kind of dry with a slightly different hue, which again gives you the variety. Let's see here. Nice, says Baron Snowhand. Gonna rinse my brush again. Reason why I keep rinsing my brush is because I'm putting a very little bit of paint on the very tip of the brush, and it tends to dry out faster when you have forced air for heat, which I have. So I'll just go back in and rinse things out as I go along. And again, if you want better control with your miniature, just like I'm doing right now, steeple your finger. And it gives you some better control. Okay, I think... I don't know if the kneecaps get... I don't think they do. I'm holding off on the kneecaps. I'm not sure if those are supposed to get that. So say I. I'll double check. Can I get this shot? Can I get this angle? Again, I'm not sure about this particular track. I'm not mad at it. Doesn't mean that I love it. There's another one. Alright, I gotta pull this one back because there is no way I'm hitting this and not touching the wing and not keeping this under the camera. And have control. As you can see, we start getting, there's 3 on the back, behind, then you have along the back, and you have 3 and 3, just want to make sure everyone's seeing all these stones, and then I have 4 on the front legs, okay, 2 on either side. So I'm going to go in and get those painted up too. Thank you. I appreciate that, Ron. Actually, no, because there's also right there. Yes or no? Hold on. We're doing a does it not really? All right, my call. This is going to be my call. I think I definitely want to get these on the upper portion. I don't know if I'm going to get so finicky that it goes on the bottom. I think a lot of it is going to be time factor, looking at the clock. So there are these points here on the feet. I think what I may do is leave them off until after, because I still want to, yeah, because we're getting closer to 2. I still want to be able to get these other details done. So I'll finish up the jewel work off screen. All of them, I mean. I'm still going to show you how I am doing these opals, but I'm going to leave it at this one for now and give those all a chance to dry, because looking at things, it looks like my wing is now ready. And I also want to give the teal bits, the turquoise bits, I should say, their time in the sun as well. How do I keep the feet from painting? How do I keep from painting the feet when doing the floor? That basically is a matter of keeping your brush so that if you're going in to paint, let's see if I can do this so I can show you. Yeah. So if I go into paint, I just make a point of keeping my brush more level with the floor itself and then just very carefully working it in between. It's definitely using a small detail brush, sort of like coloring in the lines of the coloring book. You outline around the feet and then you can work the rest of the base is how it would work. As Gomez says, very carefully. Yes, very carefully. Now I do need more ghost white, which I think I just chucked in here, didn't I? Hello. There you are. So I'm going to go back with ghost white. Just get a little bit more on my plate. And it's dry brushing again. Okay, same thing as what you saw before. So I'm just going to dip in. Oh yeah, this brush is going to be adios after I'm done with her. And same thing. Pulling up and away. And just very lightly. Pulling it. I'm also going to float it a little bit here so I can get those lovely lengths. I'm just being very careful when I get to this point. But there you go. I'm going to flip and do, I talked about, make sure you don't forget about this part. Very carefully go back in. Get that edge. And same idea. Just like we did before, but it's the second round. And I'm just letting my brush glide along the top. And it's always better to go back over if needed. Don't overdo it if you can help it. And what I'm doing is I'm looking between the two to make sure it's a comparable load. And I'm actually quite happy with that. That's looking nice and balanced. So see there the wings. Just checking here. Yeah, I think we're looking, just want to get a little bit of these. Yeah, just a little bit through here. But that is how you get the wings. Hold on, there we go. So the wings are done. All set, that just needs to dry. Gundam style? What's Gundam style? Hold on, I had a little. Okay. Wings. Now let's go back to, oh wait. Now let's go to, I want the smaller brush for that. I'm going to take that ghost gray again. It's debating ghost gray or blue. I think I'm going to do the ghost gray though. And just very carefully. Get along that. You'll see, because there's one more thing I'm going to do to these once I get that highlight on there. Okay, so I want to do that really quick. This is just doing Ghost Gray. Oop, there's one that's hiding right here. Gotta get. Okay, so there. Now we're gonna get into the effects, which you're all gonna live in the water for a second. So you can see there is a mix, and is that still out? That is still out. Yay. Okay, so you can see there is a mix of sort of different tonalities. We have more of like a turquoisey, more of sort of a lavender tone, and then you have that beautiful golden color. So we're gonna work with those. Hey, nice guy. Thank you for joining us over on YouTube. Yep. So the wings are all completely done. Now what I'm going to do is, as you can see, we have those different tones with the jewels. I'm going into my special effects paints, which means color shifting tones as well as a metallic. So I'm still going to keep using the taupe, which I used on the armor. And then I have this Ceramcoat Flash Metallic in a tealish blue and a lavender tone. So all of these are going to get put to use on these various things. So what I'm going to do is for these larger ones, like these, those I'm going to keep in the taupes. For the mid-size ones, I think those I'm going to keep in the lavenders. And for the smaller ones, that's what I'll do a dot of the teal blue. So what I'm going to need is a smaller brush. Except I think I have it in the water. Yeah, the one I want to use is in the water. So I'm going back to this round brush that I've used before. You saw me use before. And I still have some of the taupe still going, so I don't need to put that onto my plate. So you can see I already got it going because of the dry brushing. That's why I said I'm not concerned about it. So you can see it's worked its way nicely onto this one. I want to put a little bit more on this one. And you're looking for a very light coat. And yes, I do paint on my fingers. So I'm just adding a nice layer to give it that pretty color. And this is the taupe. See? Let's spin the plate. So I'm not reaching as much. So very thin coating is all you need. You could even, if you wanted to, thin it out even more and make it like a glaze covering. However, with thinning metallics, be careful because I have found over thinning them means that your the glittery aspect of it, the metallic aspect, can sometimes get filtered too much and it doesn't have the glow that you'd want it to per se. So just be careful if you are going to thin your metallics. So again, it's taupe that's getting applied to the larger ones. And since I have taupe out already, that makes it very easy. Operative word is thin coat here. If you make it too thick, you're going to obliterate the undertones, but now you see it gets a very pearlescent look to it. And I'm also going to be putting it onto the top, but I'm going to change my brush size because this is significantly larger. So I'm going to flip to this brush. Actually, let me get a fresh brush because this one I forgot had washes on it. I don't want to do that. Let me get the same brush, clean. Same brush, but clean. That's important. Come here, you. So I'm going to put the taupe here on this one. I always sort of start off at the edge and work my way in if I can. The reason why I went larger is so this has a smoother look to it. Otherwise it'd be a lot of smaller brush strokes and I don't want that at all. It's not a good look. And because this is also the taupe, that means I can take it around. That little bit of gold to finish off the headpiece. but that gives her, see the lovely glow. There we go. Okay, so that I think is all of the, is it? Let me get a little bit of the edge here, hold on. So we get a little bit more on this one. There we go. Okay, so those are all the bigger ones. Yes, yes. Okay, so now, no, I forgot, there's the back. So I'm also gonna get that back piece. Vallejo has a metallic option you can add into paints to give them a shimmer if you want. It depends on how much of a shimmer you're looking for. If you want it to like flecks of glitter in it, the Dragonfly line from Folk Art, this stuff, Dragonfly Glaze, that will do it too, but it's larger chunks, so just keep that in mind. It'll look more glittery than, you know, a touch of metallic, so you can see the difference there. I think I'm going to do those ones by the shoulders in the gold or the taupe as well. Now I'm looking, but I have to pull that off screen because awkward angle. Awkward. That is awkward. Yeah, I want to make that the same color. I like that. Looks like a pearl. You're very welcome, hey nice guy. I try and assist when and how I can. And again, I'm getting that other side of the wing with the taupe for that jewel detail at the top. But because of wings and camera and such, you can see they both have that pearl look to them now, which is what I wanted. Okay, that is all the biggins. Okay, cool. So I'm going to keep the small ones to be the teal, which means I'm now going to shift over to the blue violet. Same thing, but I'm going to apply that onto the mid-size ones if I can get some out. All right, let me rinse this brush and move that over. And we're getting there. So it's this size that I'm going to do with the blue violet. And because it kind of shifts around colors a little bit, it goes from this bluish violet color, hence blue violet, yuck, yuck, yuck. But there's also a gold tone to it too that I want to have brought out in different angles. Again, just using my thumb sort of as a blotter to make sure there's not too much paint, because I don't want this to be too thick. Ooh. Now we're getting jazzy here, folks. But it's very subtle, but you can see there's the purple, there's the gold. Purple to a gold. Really, it's honestly one of those things that show up a heck of a lot better in life, like in real life, IRL. So you're getting just a hint of it through the camera work. Would it be easy to put the names of the paints? Would it be possible with the names of the paints used somewhere? I probably could do it after the fact, Ron, because I do have the list going anyways. Again, just getting this applied. How are we doing on time? Ooh, it's almost 2. Okay, so that's the other side with that purple, see? And then your purple comes out there. So golden tone, purple tone. It's really so cool. I'm not sure when exactly I'll be able to get to that. Please keep that in mind. But I'll see what I can do about getting a full list up there. All right, so for the sake of time, I do want you to see the aqua in action. That's going to go on the smaller ones. Because this I can always just... Ooh, my Thank goodness. This I can always just go back and complete those little points myself and explain how I would do the base as well. And then just keep an eye out for the official final photo of her when she is done. But this gives you a good sense of what she will look like when completed. Okay, so I'm going in and this is the aqua. And I'm just going to apply it here. And then we will get that lovely blue coloring that we see on some of the jewels in the official artwork as well. So if anything, what I'll do is I'll put this on the little bits here at the feet. So the aqua is going to go down here. This will be the blue violet. Okay, you following me there? But that is the plan for these jewels. Especially when I get these front ones done so you can see the trio. So right there you can see the trio of the different colors, okay? So that is the taupe on top, blue violet, aqua. And it just gives you, it changes its intensity depending on the angle of the light. And you get a more rounded out look to her that way. And then in terms of the base, let's talk about what I would do on the base. I'm going to put this down now for a second. For the base, what I would do to complete the base. I'd go in and decided if I think I'm probably going to do more of a earthy color because then I can put some grasses or something around it. So what I'm going to do is go around and put a very dark brown on the base first, being careful to work my brush in between, going in with a smaller brush. And like I said, it's like a coloring book. You outline the areas first, and then I can go with a larger brush and paint the rest of the base up. Once that is dry, then go in with a dry brush, and I'd probably do the earth color from Vallejo. All about that base. Good pun. And then I would do an earth color as a dry brush effect. I may even go in and do a wash with the umber, possibly even the sienna, just to sort of bring out the texture that is happening in the base here. But that pretty much is the full gambit for all those bits on Isperia, okay? Just to get all the little nooks and crannies and extra little detail she has going on. And let me flip to the overhead, or not the overhead, the main screen. So here she is. Right now you can see her just like this. Her wings are done. The jewels are starting up. You saw how I got those effects going. You saw how the armor got established. And for the base, it's simply a matter of starting with a dark, dark brown, painting in carefully, letting that dry, going up to a mid-tone tannish brown, doing a dry brush effect with that. Use a smaller dry brush when you get around the features of the feet, and then go in and do maybe like a light taupish color if you really wanted to bring out another round of light. So that is the way you could play with this. And then I'm probably going to go in and put in like things like little grass details and whatever, because she's got a sizable base. I'm even debating if I'm going to put the black base on her because I like how she's looking in these pastels. See if I can bring her a little closer for you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, I love this new camera. So here she is. So that's her this way. And that is based off that. So what do we think, folks? How'd I do? We get close to the artwork there? It's a little hard because our head's at a different angle, but that was my inspiration. That was my reference photo this whole time. I'm going to close up here. You can see I was working off those extra details I was seeing, trying to play off the colors that I saw happening. You know, you're never going to get a perfect copy of the rendition just because it's a different style of artwork. But, ta-da! I work with WizKids Gomez. I am a miniature painting artist. I have been so for a while now. I will not be selling this. No, this is not for sale. It may come up for something else though, but it's not going to be for sale. But here she is. Almost set and done. There's just those extra little details that I need to take care of. I'll probably do it later on this evening while I still have it fresh in my mind. But that is definitely that. But I hope you enjoyed this process. As I said, it was 3 separate videos, 3 separate streams. If you want to catch these, do be sure to hop over to the YouTube channel because those will be up for, in perpetua VOD, video on demand. So you can go back and follow up. With Twitch, we only have the last 2 episodes on there. That's 3. The last 2 episodes up there, and they will disappear after a period of time. So any backlog of miniature painting sessions that I do here on Miniature Mayhem, do be sure to head over to WizKid's YouTube channel, and you will see that the painting series are there. And again, if you missed it, don't forget, up for pre-order now for $69.99. You have this handsome devil. Not a devil. I know it's not a devil. I'm using the expression, not what it actually is. But this is the blue Dracolich from the D&D Icons of the Realms Boneyard line that it will be coming out late March, up for pre-order. Check with your FLGS first, please, if you can. That'd be wonderful. You can also head over to dndmini.com. And in terms of what you can expect for next week, more creatures from Boneyard. I'll be doing the unboxing of what you can find, some of the highlighted miniatures in the Boneyard booster bricks. Okay, so that is what's going to be happening next week. I'll be giving you a close-up look at all those. It's not going to be mini painting next week. It's just going to be showing off some fun minis, which I'm looking forward to doing because these are chef kiss. They are lovely. They are gorgeous. They are excellent to look at. But yep, that's pretty much what you can expect for next week too. And I can't, oh, they're fun. They're just so cool. And I'll also show you those promo sets as well as the other ones. All right, I need to get going. I have other things I need to make sure get taken care of before I call it a day for myself. For those of you who stayed with me this whole time, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you enjoyed seeing my techniques for how I captured the different qualities of this particular miniature based off of its official artwork with Magic the Gathering on its card. If you haven't yet, if you joined me midway and you missed the whole spiel in the beginning, guess what? You're getting it at the end. Don't forget to like or subscribe while you are here. If you're over on YouTube, make sure you ring the bell and you'll get notifications when things like Miniature Mayhem goes live, as well as our board game stream, Much Ado About Gaming with Jessa Blackthorn. So make sure you check that one out too if you like to play your board games and all that loveliness. And you'll also get notifications when we have our unboxings with Scott Porter for HeroClix happening too. And let's see here. I think that pretty much covers everything. Boneyard next week. And until then, I will wrap this up like I do every single stream. And I mean it in true honesty and genuinely. Thank you so much for joining me. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Until then, I will see you on the flip side. And I'll see you next Wednesday too. Take care, everyone.